there, how's it going? This is a bit of a VoD review for a guildie of mine who has been struggling with Boomkin DPS for quite a while here. So here I have a VoD review of myself, because sadly I couldn't get any footage of my guildie Blizardbaby here who's struggling. But this is myself and her on the same fight on a progression heroic Star Augur kill. So the first thing to note in this fight is that I myself am no kind of like pro Boomkin player or anything, so I'm not the end-all say-all for how to play Boomkin. But we've seen Blizardbaby kind of struggling with basic casting range DPS mechanics. So this review is going to be kind of just like a getting into more advanced levels of play kind of review. So before we get into the actual video here, the first thing I want to go over is what I actually see in the logs. So I'm going to close out of the video here for a second. And I'm going to pull up these this handy dandy log here, which shows me at what time and what exactly any ability was used throughout the entire fight. So, first thing to note here is the opener. So, this area right here is probably the most important thing you can do as a Boomkin. These first 12 seconds is going to make or break your DPS for the rest of the fight. If you have a poor opener, then you're going to be doing poorly for the entire pull. The first thing I want to show here is the immediate uses of the artifact ability, which are here and here for my rotation anyways. And you can't even see my first one because I've already precasted it, so this is where the fight started logging. But I actually casted because we do a countdown, so like we'll say this is 1, 2, 3 is out here. So when we do that pull timer, I pre-pot at 2. So I pot here, and then I'll begin casting the new moon ability right at 1. So you're going to have your new moon here is casting right at 1 on the countdown. So when we actually pull, the cast bar takes that long. And so your new moon's already going in there, and it's going to hit the boss right when we start the fight. So I got mine in before the logs even started when we pulled the boss. And then I immediately use the trinket I had. I'm not using that anymore. It's an okay trinket. You know, you do what you can to get damage in. Now, one thing I messed up here, and it's something you messed up on as well, I used my incarnation before I applied my dots. Now, ideally, what you want to do is you start with the new moon, and then you immediately apply your 2 dots, and then you use incarnation. So these should be swapped, and then you're going to do this immediately following with this. So this is probably a bad visualization, but suffice to say it should be artifact, dots, cooldown, finish artifact, and then you go to your normal rotation. So the other thing I noticed here, clear off the screen here. The other big issue I'm noticing, and this is what I think Blizardbaby's biggest problem is that as we go down here, we're going to see these gaps. And I apologize, Scrollbar is not very accurate here. So Blizardbaby has had this issue for a long time where we get these weird pauses. Now look at the time here. We went almost 6 full seconds without a single ability used. And in the same period, you can see I've used abilities here. So there likely wasn't something that prevented you from using abilities for a full 6 seconds. And this is saying about 46 seconds in the fight. So let's see if we can find this in the actual video. Alright, so I cut the video a little bit there. So we're just before 46 seconds of the fight. So we're going to play this and see what happens here. So we're all stacked on diamonds. Oh, Blizardbaby got the circle to run out with. Okay, so I immediately see an issue there. When we get this circle here, we only have to run out so that it's not overlapping anyone. So we've already ran, I don't know, like an extra 3 yards than we needed to. And then ignoring just that extra time we just took to run that far. I'm going to move my mouse controls because my drawing program is getting a little bit of a hassle here. So I'm going to rewind just a little bit here, and we're going to watch that again. So we're going to hit play, and we're going to watch Blizardbaby here. It's going to get the circle, and she runs and runs and runs and runs, and then stops, and has to stop and completely turn around. So that's my other big thing here, is we're taking time, and I believe this has been discussed, we're taking time to have to turn the camera completely around, and we're looking the wrong direction. So when you were running, you were looking this way, but you want to be looking at him in order to cast. So you have to swivel your whole camera around in order to be able to cast at the boss again, when all you have to do is just hold your strafe key, and you can just strafe while staying looking at the boss. So we spent probably a good extra 3 seconds just walking here. We spent another second turning around. It's just, these little things do add up over time. You know, turning a camera all on its own isn't that big a deal. You can turn a camera pretty quick. But when we're making these huge wide motions all the time, it's going to slowly kind of nick away at your potential. So we're going to go back to rotation here again. And as we go, you'll continue to see these small little gaps here as we keep going. And whoa, what is going on here, I wonder? Look at this huge gap. We've got almost 10 full seconds with nothing. So again, I'm going to cut the video a little bit here, and let's go see what happens at about 150 seconds in. Okay, so we're just a little bit ahead again of where this takes place. So let's see what Blizardbaby does here. Alright, she got the file ejection. It's walking forward. Oh, what are we doing? Oh. Alright, so we're gonna watch that again. Oh, and we got another file ejection. Okay. So gonna back it up just a little bit. If it's gonna let me, a little bit laggy right now. Okay. So Blizardbaby's right here, for anyone who didn't see that. Now we're gonna watch. We get the fell ejection, and we're just walking. Right now, we are looking at the boss. We walked forward, and we're just standing there, just looking at the boss. We could be getting a whole spell in right now. You could even just be spamming instant cast. Pressing anything right now is more valuable than just standing there and watching the boss. And we're gonna keep watching. We're still just standing there. Oh, now we're turning around. We are completely facing away from the boss. We are looking at nothing. And again, our whole focus right now should always be looking right at this guy. He is always in the middle for the whole fight, and we never want to not be looking at this guy. But like I just pointed out, right now we're facing the wall. We're looking at the big pretty, there's a big planet over here that you can't see, but it's got lots of cool tentacles and stuff. Well, actually not in the fell phase, it's just on fire. But the point is, we're not focusing on what's important right now, which is this guy, and we want to see this health bar going down. But Blizardbaby's stargazing. So basically what happened for this whole 10 seconds was we were right here, and we got the thing, we ran forward, turned the camera completely around, and did just this full loop. And now we're looking at the boss again, and we just got fell ejection again. So fell ejection on Blizardbaby again, and I'm gonna keep playing and see. Okay, now we're casting. And oh, we got a good strafe there, but now we're just standing and watching it. In fact, we even ran through some fire there. So let's take a look here. So the camera is focused on me right now, and when you're playing as a ranged in a phase like this, where there's mechanics, people are placing crap on the ground that we don't want to stand in. Standing in this fire is going to give you a debuff, which obviously I don't have right now, so we can't show it. But if you get this debuff, it's going to stack, and it's going to keep stacking the longer you're in fire, which is bad. You don't really want to get more than one stack. One stack is okay, but we can still avoid it, so we shouldn't really be going in there. So what we really should be doing is just kind of focusing on this area. So for Blizardbaby here, we're focusing on sort of that area. We want to keep an eye on people who are close to our area. And we got Morph coming in here, our tank. He's doing his little thing to clear out all this fire. So you can see his is about to fade. He's about to clear out all this fire. So this is a good position. But if we rewind just a little bit here, we pull it back. So we're going to watch this, and okay. So what happens here is that now our circle, we started here, and we did this whole loop, and this was actually pretty good because I'm right here. So my circle would have been invaded by you if you had gone this way. So you made a good choice going this way, but look at all this area we have right here. But instead you chose, instead of filling up that area, you are choosing to go into this little tiny little spot there, completely surrounded by fire. And I'm pretty sure that's what's going to get you burned here in a second. Yep, you've completely surrounded yourself, you're standing in your own fire, okay, and you had to walk over your own fire patch there. So that little spot that you were in got filled in by your own debuff. And luckily we have our buddy Morph here is about to clear all that. So this was a good stack. So don't feel bad about doing this. This is really clumped, a really good stack. But you took extra damage for that. And again, because you're taking all this extra time moving around and trying to find a good spot because of all this, trying to stack all this together, we're once again looking away from the boss, and we're not casting. We are just looking at the cool planet in the background right now. Okay, so we were just looking at that in the video, but you can just see all on this timeline here, just nothing. Just this huge gap. And this, look at this. There's so much of a gap here. There's just nothing. There's nothing that can be seen in this timeline. You got a full almost 20 seconds without a cast. And so I think we're getting kind of bored of just looking at these. So the big thing I want to point out here, we're just going to go to the regular just meters here. So we have myself, Yui on the left, and Blizardbaby on the right. I want to take note of something here. Take a look at these numbers. Now, think about why this is. Now, this one, let's see, it doesn't want to show me the uptime, it doesn't look like. Nope, it's not going to show me in compare. Okay, so I can't see the uptime on these dots, but I'm going to assume that I pretty much had 100% uptime with Sunfire. Now, I'm going to pull in the handy dandy talent calculator here, and I want to kind of go over this talent, this final tier talent, which is actually quite good. So, it causes your Lunar Strike to extend the duration of Moonfire by 6 seconds, and Solar Wrath to extend duration of Sunfires by 4 seconds. So the reason I was able to only have 11 casts of Sunfire and 8 casts of Moonfire was because I never needed to refresh them more than that. In fact, I probably cast it more than I needed to in the first place. If you do the rotation properly, you almost never, you can go about 3 minutes, maybe a little more. It really depends on your haste. But you can go quite a long time without ever needing to recast those 2 dots. Obviously, if you're target switching a lot, which is the case in a lot of fights, then it is going to run out, and there's nothing you can really do about it. But in the cases where there are so many ads that you're kind of constantly swapping and redotting, this Stellar Drift talent is probably going to benefit you more. But that's assuming that there's periods where you're going to want to Starfall. And if you've never read it, increases Starfall damage by 60% and the radius by 30%. And a nice little bonus, although in my opinion is not super helpful, it lets you cast all moving in the Starfire, or Starfall, that is. And, you know, on fights where there's a lot of AoE, that's going to be a lot more beneficial when you have to recast dots all the time anyways. But getting back on point here, the big problem I have is that you have far too few Star Surges, which in your case, it's still representative of about the right percentage of your damage. You know, both of the bars here all kind of do that nice little parabola-ish shape, which is what they should be. Your Star Surge should always be number 1. Your Lunar Strike should always be number 2. Your Solar Wrath should always be number 3. You know, that all matches, which is great. So you got the priorities right. But these casts, this is the problem here. You don't have enough uptime. Not nearly enough uptime. And this is why you're always so far behind on damage. And when I say so far behind on damage, I'm not trying to be hurtful or say that you're doing badly. But what the problem here is, if I can close out of this compare, your damage was about, I'm going to say, about 200,000. Well, more like 150. And in this case, this is actually pretty good for your normal amount. I don't want to pull up a bunch of logs here. But there should be kind of like this, what's going on. I want to say our kind of top guys, you get, it's a pretty close comparison here. It's almost a linear digression going down. But then we get to kind of what I'm calling our troublemakers here. And so instead of being a straight line now, you see kind of like this is still a line here. Suddenly it just drops way off. It turns into like this curve, which means in my experience, there's a rotational issue here or a significant gearing issue. And if we take a look here, we're still in compare mode. I don't know how to get rid of that. Anyways, if we go to summary, I am 890 item level, and I can tell you my artifact 33. And talents are all pretty standard, single target for Boomkin. So let's take a look at Blizardbaby here, our hero. And now we got artifact 50. So you are like, if this is accurate, almost 20 artifact levels higher than mine, which means you should have way more damage and the same item level. And you have 2 legendaries, although Prydaz doesn't add any damage. It just has better stats. So fairly good relics, a lot of gem slots here. You know, if we were both performing the same, you should be kicking my ass. And again, I'm not trying to be hurtful by saying that, but I really, if you look at this here, I should be bottom. And with your gear and your artifact level, I would say, this range. In fact, we could pull up here. Actually, I'll save that for later. I'll save that for a private issue. But we could do some sims and see what a more accurate number you should be hitting would be if you were doing a proper rotation and kind of utilizing your time. So we're going to go back to the video again, and we're going to I'm going to give a few notes here and give what my thoughts are through this fight. So we're going to start here, and again, immediately I want to drop all of my artifacts. I want to get rid of that. That should be gone. And while the fight's going here, some key things about the UI here. I'm always trying to watch this, which I can also see up here if there were multiple targets. And I'm always watching, see this bar here, my cast bar? I play on a big screen, so I can't say if this is super readable for other viewers or not, but this little red part, as soon as that bar hits that little red part right there, I already hit the next button. So this cool thing World of Warcraft has, and a lot of MMOs have this actually, is that they try and compensate for the ping. Now I usually play like 23 to 50ish ping, which is pretty good. It's pretty good for most players who are typically around 70 to 100, I think. But luckily, I live pretty close to the Blizzard the Blizzard headquarters. So as we're going here, you notice I have my camera fully zoomed out, and as we're fighting, I'm watching these numbers a lot to make sure they're not falling low. I see the moonfire is falling low. I'm gonna start trying to get those lunar strikes in. Yep, getting those lunar strikes in, brought it back up to 12. So, oops, let Sunfire fall off. So that is something on my part that I could be watching better, not letting that fall off. There will eventually be a time where you do have to hard refresh those though. And now, this fight, we're all just clumped here. Nothing to really do right now. This is just like pure single target. Might as well be fighting a target dummy right now because there is nothing that we have to worry about. Although, I am keeping an eye, as I was saying before, I'm kind of watching this circle. And I'm just keeping a little eye on it. And, oh, now our camera got a little wonky there. So, I'm keeping an eye on these other guys with their circles, and it's pretty obvious to see, in this case, that I might need to move. And then, okay, I'm going to rewind that a little, and we're going to watch here. So, the thing I like to do is I try and save up artifact power, and so I know I need to move now. Like, I already know that I needed to move, and I'm pooling up all my artifact power. Once it hit 80, then we passed it again here. Took a little too long. So I'm pooling up all the artifact power, and once I hit that number, okay, boom, I hit 2 star surges. I keep saying the wrong one. I hit my 2 star surges, which are both instant cast, and let me move here without ever stopping. So I strafed. I'm still looking at him the whole way over, and I never stopped casting or getting my damage out as I moved. So I took advantage of the way my rotation works to let me use the instant cast and never stop my rotation as I'm moving. And so, again, went over this before, just kind of keeping an eye out on this area around. And I'm watching a lot of our hunter here because he's kind of close. He's a little threatening to me. And now, I don't know what Emberwing's doing. This is a part I wanted to point out, and if any other guildies are watching, this is something I kind of wanted to talk about as well. This mechanic is something, it's been discussed. We've been doing these kind of lines, and these lines are fine on Heroic. Doesn't really matter on Heroic. But the tank mechanic, if you watch our little buddy Morph here, he has to clear this fire, and he can only clear it in patches like that. So I like the way Blizardbaby has been doing this, because she does kind of these like big clumps over here that makes it oh so easy for Morph to just wipe out a big huge circle like that. And for this mechanic, we've always been talking about do these lines so that we have these lanes. We got like, okay, so this is bad, and this is bad. And that's fine, but we don't really need these lanes because the mechanic that we're running away from, like this is the danger zone. Once you're past this, you're not gonna die. And probably like this distance here, and probably even closer than that, it's not going to do any significant more damage than if you make it all the way to the edge. Now, on Mythic, obviously those numbers are going to scale up, but I can promise you the mechanic is still basically the same. As long as you're out of this dead zone in the middle, you're going to live. So this is something I actually like that Blizardbaby was doing by clumping up these fires really well. And some of these are kind of like huge offenders, and this is why I think our buddy Emberwing here had to flee all the way across. He had to flee all the way across because he doesn't have any room anymore. And the tanks can't really, I mean, you do got some pretty decent sized patches there that Morph could go clear. In my opinion, I would have ran that way behind the boss because that looks pretty clear. But yeah, so that is my thoughts on the mechanics in this phase. So moving on. So okay, we had, I think that is Maloriot kind of hanging out, and he ran out. He likes to hang out close to melee there, which is fine, but you just have to keep in mind he's gonna have to move a lot more if he gets, you know, mechanics like that. He had to waste time running, whereas this whole time I was just standing there. Through all the mechanics, I never moved. So as you can see here, just kind of slowly inching over, getting like I move, cast, move, cast, move, cast, and you kind of get into that rhythm. And now I'm not happy with this spot. I can already tell you I am not happy with this spot because I got two guys that are threatening me there. If they get mechanics, I now have to deal with their mechanics. Luckily, I got the mechanic. Well, not luckily, but I could tell I was kind of screwed out of luck there. So I just used what I call the emergency movement button, or just Placer Beast. So I just took that distance and instantly got out. So I didn't have to worry about any of this fire. I didn't take any extra damage, but I did lose some DPS. And so that's why I say kind of emergency, because I don't want to have to move that much. I don't want to have to go all the way out there and then turn around and lose that DPS coming back. So now we're getting to the next phase, and they all like to say stack there. I disagree. I'm going to stack here because I know the ad's going to spawn on this X. The ad's going to be there, and I want to be able to see that. I don't want to have to be looking this way and then have to turn my camera around to see where this ad spawns. So there it is, and whoops. And so this is my other thing that I wanted to kind of briefly go over here was good nameplates. Having a good nameplate add-on when you're a class that has multiple dots. I can see both timers for both of the things that I want to dot here without having to ever change targets. And I'm actually kind of ignoring my dots right there because I wanted to finish that ad off. Normally, if you want to be like really greedy, refresh those faster than I did. And so here, like if we had a little bit more DPS, I would already be moving because we wouldn't want to kill any more ads. But I know we're going to be killing another ad still, so I'm still facing this direction, just keeping all the enemies all the enemies are right here. This is everything that I need to be paying attention to, so that's why I have my camera pointing that way. And that mechanic, obviously, I wait until the cast bar is like almost done and I can see his cast bar. Again, good nameplate add-on. I can see the cast bar, and you can see that going right now. That Witness the Void. I could see it without having to look at anything else on my screen. I can focus there and see, okay, right there, I need to turn. And I turn real quick. And then, alright, so now I moved because we're not killing any more ads, so all my attention now is right here in the middle. And there's nothing else I need to look at. So now I'm just focusing on this guy, and again, I never need to move again ever for this fight. So now it is just pure DPS trying to get him down. And that's about all I can think of going over for right now. I don't want to get super basic and just explain the whole boomkin rotation because I feel like Blizardbaby has a good handle on that. I went over the issues of these long spaces and questionable positioning with how we're using our abilities, and there's just these gaps and low number of casts. So if we can clean up the low number of casts and try and capitalize on how we are using our abilities so that we get the most benefit, I think Blizardbaby here will see improvement so much that she will be up in this 550 if not higher range. So I hope that was informative, and I hope Blizardbaby can take a lot away from this without feeling like she has been singled out. There's no hate or disappointment or anything. We're just trying to help Blizardbaby to improve and be the best that she can be.